Initiate Vigilante mode.
What's going on, guys? I don't know why I'm feeling so self-conscious today or something like that. I just feel like it's been a little while since I've done this. Couple of quick updates before I get into the top 10. Number one, nearing the end of filming on the short film that maybe some of you are aware of or maybe not, or confused as to whether it's even happening. I've been editing it as we've been filming. The title is Sheet. There will be a Facebook like page up hopefully very soon. That way you guys can get a little bit of a preview of what it is. Really excited about it. We've been working really hard on it. So number two, I just started my new job, working as a school teacher. Boy, was this a crazy week. Kind of exhausted. It's just gonna kind of maybe slow down some of the release of these videos. I know, you're all clamoring for them. Number three, because I did get a comment this morning, and hope you don't mind me using your name, but Mr. Bro left a comment on the Jason Bourne video, and I just wanted to clear something up. This person may have misinterpreted my misunderstanding of the proper term for people of a certain ethnicity. Now, clearly I am brown, so as a person of color, I often get put into categories that I don't identify with. I live in a Dominican neighborhood, so people assume that I'm Dominican, and I have no Dominican heritage at all. People think I'm biracial or this or that, and it's just very circumstantial, my heritage, and it's a long litany, and I don't want to really get into it right now. His comment was in reference to Riz Ahmed, who at the time that I made the review, I did not know that he was Pakistani, which is technically Southeast Asian. I wasn't aware of that at all. So I suppose I did the same thing that I also kind of can't stand when people do to me, which is just sort of oh, he looks like that, and throw him in that category. I was, supporting an actor who I really love who is of color. I will just be more careful about which terms I use and make sure to educate myself on where people are from before I assume. And I think that's a lesson we can all learn. So thank you, Mr. Bro, for your comment. And with that said, let's get into the top 10 movies of the summer. This is a completely subjective list. It's just from my opinion and from the movies I have seen, not any of the movies that I did not see, obviously. Here we go.
Number 10, Suicide Squad.
Now, despite the fact that this movie was horribly received by critics, I think that fans reacted to the film in a slightly more balanced way. Despite its many problems, which include pacing, character development, a bizarre choice in the Harlem Shaking villain, and an even too weird for me portrayal of the Joker, I actually enjoyed the movie. It was bombastic, it was silly and fun, and generally speaking, that's what I come to the movies for in the summer. C+.
Number 9, Lights Out.
Aside from my number one pick, I would say that this film was my most anticipated film of the summer. People often complain about how there's a lack of originality in Hollywood these days, and I'm inclined to agree. Lights Out was an original concept derived from David Sandberg's short film of the same name. While I was hoping to be blown away by this movie, as I was with the short film, the film merely satisfied me. The scares were there, and there was some fantastic lighting, camera work, and characters. This film just could have benefited greatly from explanations on the mythology a bit more, but it's nothing that a good sequel can't kind of rectify. B.
Number 8, Sausage Party.
This film actually surprised me in its depth of concept and highly metaphoric nature. Kudos to whomever cut the trailers, because the movie I got was completely different than the premise that was exhibited in the trailers. The film appeared to be an adult version of Toy Story, except with food escaping from their eventual consumers, and while that is an element of the film, it's much more about people accepting others for their differences. But while the movie is a little bit indulgent, it was still a lot of fun, and it was pretty solid. B+.
Number 7, Ghostbusters.
All of the hatred toward this film I thought was completely unwarranted and unnecessary. I have said it many times that for me personally, the original film is not that sacrosanct, but that's just me. While I quite enjoyed my time in the cinema watching this film, I was charmed by the cast and their undeniable chemistry. This, like most summer blockbusters, doesn't hinge itself upon having an intricate, complex plot. That said, I was very engaged by it and the journey that the characters went on together. I would have preferred it to be a sequel. I think if it was a sequel, it probably would have pissed less people off if it was a continuation of what people know and love. So B+.
Number 6, Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe, which is basically the last big film of the season, was a very well-made, undeniably tense and suspenseful thriller. Starring Stephen Lang and Jane Levy, this collaboration succeeded primarily due to its circumventing of many horror film tropes and cliches, which made it feel very fresh. The technical filmmaking aspect really enhanced the storytelling for me, and it was a very dynamic and well-made film. Didn't blow my socks off like I was hoping it would, but it was definitely solid. B+. The top 5 movies are maybe a little bit different than the grade that I gave them initially, but I sort of adjusted some grades. On to the top 5.
Number 5, Star Trek Beyond.
Given that I'm a huge fan of the franchise, you'd think that this would be one of my more anticipated movies of the summer, based on the disappointing but not horrible Star Trek Into Darkness and the awful trailer for the new film. Star Trek Beyond was a film I chose to proceed with caution. I was able to see this film at an early screening, and it really knocked my socks off. In fact, I would say that it's a tie with the first film of the rebooted franchise with J.J. Abrams. Simon Pegg's script and Fast and the Furious franchise director Justin Lin made this feel more like the Trek that we know and love. A-.
Number 4, Finding Dory.
There were a handful of animated films to be released this summer, and while I wish I could have seen everything, that's just not possible. That said, I'm happy to have seen Finding Dory. Andrew Stanton directed a moving film with great heart, humor, and a message about special needs populations and the importance of regarding people with respect for their differences, as well as not giving up on your pursuits in spite of perceived shortcomings. This movie literally brought me to tears. Ellen DeGeneres was fantastic. A-. On to the top 3.
Number 3, The Nice Guys.
If you're a fan of neo-noir, detective story hijinks, Ryan Gosling, and Russell Crowe, you will enjoy this movie, which is directed by Shane Black. I saw this film so early in the summer that I barely remember the plot, but as with most noir, it involves the murder of a porn star. Gosling's private eye, who's basically a total screw-up, and Crowe, Muscle for Hire, who is also basically a total screw-up, team up to solve the case with the very non-cheesy help of Ryan Gosling's daughter, played magnificently by Anjali Rice. This movie was almost too good for the summer season, hence why no one really saw it. But this was a film of quality. A-. You probably have an idea of what my number 1 is, but I was actually kind of like, I don't know if it's going to be this one or that one. I was thinking of searching them around.
Number 2, The Conjuring 2.
Wow, I loved this movie. Though not perfect, this film is really a fascinating look at a haunting and possession story that has heart, depth, and a sense of humor. There are great moments of levity which just amplify this movie to an even higher quality, and it gives it its own signature. James Wan is an incredible filmmaker. At this point, I would definitely consider him like a Hollywood A-lister. Great camera work, great lighting, great effects, great performances, and I just love Ed and Elizabeth Warren. I can't wait to see what their next case is, and it also certainly adds some spook factor with the fact that these movies are based on real case files. Another great performance by a child actor, Madison Wolfe. A-. Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, even though you know what it is.
Number 1, Captain America Civil War.
Alright, Captain America Civil War, or as I like to call it, another slam dunk for Marvel. This was the kickoff of the summer, and despite any superhero fatigue that you might feel, just shrug that off, watch this film for the 3 or 4 people who haven't seen it, okay? This film crushed it at the box office, and it's nice to see a film that's actually good succeed financially. While not an immaculate film, sure there's a plot hole here and there, and a moment of I would have done that differently kind of thing. Brought to you by the Russo brothers, and they are just so good at delivering this kind of movie. They're really good at what I think DC is really sorely lacking in right now, which is balance. This movie had about 20 main characters in it, and none of them feel shoehorned in. It feels like everybody got their fair share. I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the next movie, Infinity War, because that's supposed to have like 60 to 70 characters in it. This was just a fun movie, and it doesn't lose sight of the fact that it's still a Captain America movie. Definitely some great performances from Evans, Stan, Mackie, Johansson, and Robert Downey Jr., but the new additions, Tom Holland and Chadwick Boseman, are fantastic. In fact, they kind of steal the show. So keep up the good work, Marvel. You've truly built a dynasty. I'm proud of you. But that's my top 10 movies of summer 2016. Do you have a list of your favorite movies? Any movies that you would throw in there which I didn't see? Let me know. Leave a comment below. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching Vigilante Mode Reviews. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time,
Vigilante mode deactivate.